All right, I made this bowl yesterday. Today I like to talk about basic trimming. The basic trimming is, first I will talk about when is the right time to trim. Okay, when is the right time to trim. And then how to put your piece in the center and then trim it. And also using what kind of a trimming tool you can get. And also before you trim, what should you do? Okay, so first, to decide when is the right time to trim. Okay, this is very critical and important. The way I decided that when is the right time to trim, first I will try to squeeze the bowl, the rim of the bowl, try to squeeze it. And if the rim is very firm without without movable, then that's a good sign. And then also for the bottom, usually the corner of the bottom is kind of soft, easier to pinch. If you can pinch and then make a dent, that's too soft. Okay, that's too soft. So in this case, it's not. So it's good. The rim is firm. And also I try to rub my finger on the surface. If you feel like kind of sticky, okay, it's kind of a little bit of friction, that's too wet. So don't try to trim it yet. And also you might want to, once all the sign that indicate that is a good trimmable stage, you can try to use a fingernail to see if we can make any indentation, and this is good. So I think this is the right time to trim. Okay, and how do you dry your pieces to the right time? Oh, this is the way I usually do. And when you throw a ball or something that with a wider rim, the rim tend to dry faster. So once you find out the rim is firm enough, usually you want to turn it upside down and dry it all the way till it's ready to trim. Okay, and sometimes the rim might be even too dry, even you do so, because the bottom you usually have a thicker clay, so the rim usually dry faster, a lot faster than the bottom part. So in that case, you might want to use a sponge to kind of rehydrate the rim a bit, so to even it out while you're trimming, while you're drying it. Okay, so that's decide when to trim. Okay, when to trim. It's very important. I know a lot of people don't have patience. They tend to trim it too wet. Okay, too wet. All right, and then the second one is to decide what is the shape. Okay, before you turn it upside down and try to trim, what is the shape look like inside? If you inside is like a curve, then you have to trim it accordingly. Okay, if you have a corner, then you have to trim outside according to what the shape looks like inside. Okay, so first study what is the shape look like inside, and then maybe estimate how thick the bottom is. Okay, how thick the bottom is. Actually you can measure it. Okay, let me show you how you can measure, give you yourself a rough idea. So you can find two pieces of ruler, and one you put it on top of the rim, and then the other one you put it there in the center, and you can measure. All right, so this is about 3 inches and almost half. Okay, almost half. I think use a millimeter might be easier. Okay, millimeters. So the other side is millimeters. Right, so this is about 84, okay? And then you can measure outside. Right, it's about 92. So 84, 92 is, so it's about 8 millimeters. When you start, you give yourself an idea that 8 millimeters is not quite 1 centimeter yet. Okay, about this thick. Actually, I have a better tool to do a more accurate measuring. This is the tool that I invented. So you can do that. Put it on the inside and then measure it. Okay, 84, and pull it out. This is about 92, 84, 92. So it's about 8. Okay, 84, 92 minus 84. So it's about 8 millimeters. So give yourself an idea how thick the bottom is before you start to try to cut the clay, so that you don't end up with leaving it too much of clay, too thick here, and also you don't trim it all the way through. Okay, so before you start it, so that's 2 things that you want to do. Make sure it's the right stage to trim. Okay, timing is very important. The second is study the shape and also estimate or maybe measure how thick the bottom is before you go. Okay. So that's 2 things. And then the third, now after you decided, before I start to put it on the center and then trim it, I like to show you the trimming tool, what kind of a trimming tool you could use. So these are the trimming tools that maybe this tool is coming from the basic kit. You are getting this kind of a tool from the basic kit. I'm going to use this tool to trim for the demonstration today, but normally I don't use this kind of a tool to trim because I hate to use the tool that is not very sharp to trim. So normally I like to sharpen my tool or make sure my tool is very sharp to trim. So usually I would like to maybe grind it or sharpen it before I trim it. And you see that this is very thin, and this kind of tool is very thin. And if you run through the grinder, it's gonna be gone within maybe a couple of months, and it's gone because this is very thin. And this tool tends to get dull, and it's very hard to resharpen it, unless you put it running through the grinder, the bench grinder. It's very hard to resharpen it. So that's why I developed my design and I developed my own trimming tools. So this is the trimming set. Different shapes and different lengths for different purpose of trimming. So curve, okay, curving tool, and also long blades and straight side. So lots of different shapes to choose from. The reason I'm using this is, consider this and this. It's a lot wider, so you have more room to grind it off. Okay, so this will last longer than this. Okay, and also for this kind of tool, you can resharpen it easily, even you don't have a bench grinder. So what you do is get a block of wood, and then you are going to sharpen because all the edges have been beveled. Okay, so if you remove a little bit of a metal from the inner part, you will get it sharp easy, okay, and fast. So just find a file, and usually I like to use a very fine diamond file because you don't want to use a rough file to do that. Just get a block of wood and place on top of it to hold it there, and then just use a pressure, and then you can, so that you are sharpening on the flat side, so that you don't end up with getting your straight edge. You get a curve. Okay, you still want to keep your edge straight. So this way, when you are sharpening this way, you are keeping your edge straight. Okay. So that's the sharpening. Easier for you to resharpen your tool, and also this tool lasts longer. Okay, that's why I developed this kind of a tool. It's called Hsin tool. Okay, it's under my name, Hsin, Hsin tool. And each one have a number. Okay, this is number 1. Some people do think even the stainless, this is made out of stainless steel. Okay, stainless steel. It's still a soft material. So then I have been developed and redesigned the tool. So this kind of tool is, the blade is made out of tungsten carbide. Okay, tungsten carbide is very hard material. So it can last at least a couple months without resharpening. I've been using this for since February, and I haven't resharpened yet. Okay, and it's still, I still feel it very sharp. And even if you need to resharpen it, it's easy. The same way I do with my stainless steel tool. So by doing so, you can sharpen it easily. So you have to consider when you are having your own tool, because tool, after use, it tends to get dull, and how long it lasts, consider that, and also how you resharpen it. Okay, that's very important to consider what kind of a tool is good for you. And maybe it's a little bit expensive, but consider in the long run, it's worth the price. Okay, worth the price. So that's how you resharpen this kind of L-shaped tool, L-shaped tool. And these are all designed by me and been used for years. And I sell them, a lot of them, on my Etsy shop. So just check it out from my Etsy shop. So that's just the tool. And I want to just use the traditional tool to show you how to trim your piece. All right. So before I start to trim it, you have to make sure that your clay staying on the wheel head without moving. Okay. And also you want to put your piece into the center, just like when you're throwing, you have to center your piece. The same thing when you're trimming, you still need to center your piece. And I want to show you a couple different ways of centering. If you are experienced people, or if you have been practice, the tap centering is the faster way to center it. Okay, you just slightly tap on the spot that is off and try to move it to the center. Okay, there's a way to practice, and I will show you in my later video. Okay, later video. But don't worry about it if you don't know this kind of method. Okay, there's another way to do it too. It's called try and error. Okay, you can get a pencil. Okay, if you don't want to, you are going to trim it eventually. So it doesn't matter if you are using a pencil or a needle tool. I like to use just a needle tool. And while this one is already in the center, but I try to move it up the center. So when the piece is not in the center, you can see it. Okay, the piece is not in the center. So you want to decide which spot to push. Okay, so give yourself an idea which spot to push toward the center. The needle tool is the way to find which spot is off the center. So first, get a needle tool and find a very steady spot. Okay, and when you're holding the needle tool, hold the tool from the right hand side if the wheel is spinning counterclockwise, and slightly move your tool toward your piece. You don't hold the tool like this, it's against the direction. And once your piece is touched by the needle tool, the tool might push away your part. Okay, so hold the tool on a steady spot. If you have a very steady splash pan, brace your arm or your hand on the splash pan. And even you can use both hands to hold the needle tool and slowly approach to your pot. And you have to hold your tool steady, okay? Right now, you see, when I approach to it, if the piece is not in the center, you're gonna end up with marking a line, a segment, okay, not whole circle on the spot. So you know this spot is touch the tip of the needle, meaning that spot is off the center. So you can push from that direction toward the center. And the lines from here to here, so you know the middle part of the line is the spot that's up the most. Okay, so usually I will spin the wheel so that the line is toward me, okay? And put my both index fingers, okay, on both ends of the segment, and then put my thumb in the middle. So this is the center. That is the spot that the direction I'm moving, the thumb, okay. Okay, slightly move toward the center. And if there's a line there, okay, the circle line, can even use the circle line to judge it. Okay, so that's my initial pushing. Now I want to check it, see if I'm doing push it into the right direction. So do the same thing again. Right. If you are doing the right direction, your line is going to get longer, okay, because it's more close to the center. Then if you have a whole circle, then you know it's your piece in the center. So now from here to here is off center, so I'm going to push this direction just a tiny little bit, okay, tiny little bit. Okay, and do one more time. Right, so 1, 2, 3 is the third one. Here all the way to here. Just a tiny bit. One, here, here. So you see that I pushed too far, too much. So it's on the other side of it. So this time I'm going to just do a tiny little bit. Right, so I think it's pretty good. I can draw the whole circle. So if you have too many lines, okay, you can actually wipe it off, okay, wipe it off so that you don't get confused, okay. Well, I think it's very good. The needle tool is touched everywhere, draw a whole circle, so the whole piece is in the center. Just doing this, I did 5 times. If you're lucky, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 times you will be able to move your piece in the center. Okay. So just if some people say that if my piece is not the whole or very uniform, then what should you do? Just check the spot that you want to trim. If you want to trim the rim, you check the rim. You want to trim the foot, just check the foot. Okay, check the foot. All right, so that's good. And then you could use a clay coil to anchor. I usually put 4 pieces of it. 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here, and 1 here. Okay, and make sure when you try to squeeze it, hold on the pot. Okay, hold it firmly, otherwise you might accidentally push your pot away, so hold it down. Okay, And making sure you securely anchor it down. And by the way, usually I like to trim my part right on the wheel head, because the wheel head is metal. The metal doesn't absorb water, so the clay is easy to stick. Okay, to stick on the metal. If you have a wood, usually the wood absorb water, and sometimes the clay, the anchor clay is easy to come off. So in the case if you are using the wooden metal, or if some people they tend to have the pin, okay, the back pin here, it might knock your hand while you're trimming it. So if in the case you want to trim it right on the bed, you can wet your bed a little bit, okay, before you place your pot on. Run the sponge to wet your bed, so that the bed absorbs a little bit of water and it's easy for your clay to anchor down. Okay, so that's all the tips that for you before you trim. Now, before I trim, I like to give myself an idea where is the location of the foot ring. So usually I am using the needle tool to draw a circle, and then another circle here. Okay, keep yourself a guideline. Of course, this is changeable. Okay, you can make it a bit wider or make it smaller. Okay, it's up to your personal preference. Usually, the smaller the foot, the whole piece looks more lighter. Okay, that's the look. Okay, more elegant. But then you need to find a balance, because if your foot is too small, then it's easy to tip over. So you want to find your balance. All right. So usually I do the rough cutting using the larger tool, and for the detail, especially in the middle, in the corner, I will use the finer one. Okay. And for using this tool, usually you're going to grab on your hand like this, and then I usually have my left hand hold it on the side of the pot, extend my thumb, okay, my left thumb, and then brace the tool right there. Okay, there, whatever you feel comfortable. And then you just cut. And I understand that this kind of tool, usually it gets dull, and especially when you are sharing the tool in the studio. So they don't resharpen it, so they stay dull all the time. And when the tool is dull, you have to trim your clay a bit softer, okay? Because the dull tool doesn't cut the clay, the dry clay, easily. So that's the reason why a lot of people tend to trim their pot a bit softer. So I'm just roughly removing the clay from the side. Okay, give myself an idea where's the foot ring going to be. Right, and in the middle here, you can use the corner here to carve out the clay. Or you can use the other corner to go. And remember, we have about 8 millimeters before we start to trim. So You don't want to go too much. 80 millimeter. I will probably leave about 3 to 4 millimeters here. So meaning I could go 4 to 5 millimeters. And if you have the tool, you can go back there and check and see if you can reach the goal you set. Right. And then for the detail trimming, I'm using this smaller tool. And always start from the center. Again, put the hand here to brace it. And I'm holding the tool like holding a pencil. Right, but for experienced potter, they can just by knocking the wall, okay, the button, and they can decide when to stop. But for beginner, you could try an arrow, okay, try an arrow, or you can measure it and then see if this is about 4 to 5 millimeters. Right, I think this is good. Just finish trimming. Get the corner look a bit nicer. Right, so usually I'm taking care of the inner part first to get it to the right thickness. And then I would decide how much clay I could remove from the outside, because I always compare the inside corner and outside corner. Now the outside corner is a little bit higher than the inside corner, meaning I could remove more clay. Because you want to follow the curve. So the outer part could be a little bit lower than the inner part. And you can tell that if your clay is soft, the soft clay tend to stick on the tool. And you see that that stage is very, the right stage. So when you trim, the clay just falling, after you trim, the clay just falling off the tool. On the very final stage, I usually spin the wheel very fast and move the tool slowly so that the surface will be smooth. And after you're done, you could use a rubber or even the metal rib to burnish, polish the foot. Okay, so that's the trimming of the foot. And now there's only one problem, that when you trim here all the way, but you won't be able to trim all the way to the rim because the anchor clay is in the way. So if you want to trim all the way to the bottom, or you want to take care of the rim so that the line is more consistent, you can turn it upside down and recenter it again, and just focus on the top, on the rim, and trim it. And luckily, I have another invention. You could, without turn it upside down and trim it. So this is the spinning tool that is spin freely. Okay. You can put it right here, but you see that when we are trimming, we usually like to trim a little dome here. So this is not going to be able to sit it right there. Then you need to have a companion plastic glass disc. Okay, this disc you just place on top of it and find a good center. All the small circular is easier for you to find your center. And then the spinner, okay, it just drop right in the center. Okay, drop in. There's a little a groove there, so it's drop in there. And what you want to do is holding down. So there's a down pressure. Okay, I saw people using a cap. Okay, from the soda. Okay, the cap. You can do that too, okay, using the cap. But this is much better, okay, much better. It's my invention. And then after that, hold it down and then just use a tool, just slightly go through the rim. Because you have a down pressure, so the part is not going anywhere. You can take care of it easily. Okay, so that's the small invention that I invented. Now I can pick it up. Pick up. And I also use a sponge to smooth the rim. By the way, if you have a stoneware, maybe it's not a good idea to use a sponge because you tend to drag out the grog. So if you have stoneware, you can use a paper towel or even use a chamois. Okay, a chamois. rub back and forth. Okay, so this is the basic trimming, and practice. Okay, in the future video, I will show you how to learn your tap centering. But for now, just use the method I just showed you. Use the needle tool to check. All right, so just want to show you the result. Okay. I am cutting it open and show you the section. Yep, the trim. All right, so that's after trim, and you can see the wall. On the bottom, the thickness of the bottom. Right, from this side, and then you turn it. Okay, hope this helped. On the practice, make it perfect. See you next time.